and we could be talking in a few minutes with Stuart Tomk, and he's a VP at Canavest, and we're going to be talking about something called cannabinoids, and we're going to talk about cannabis and the oil from it. It's called CBD oil, and I've heard about it for a while. I had a lot of requests from customers coming into the store, and I said, you know what, my old buddy Stuart went to work for this company a little while back, and if Stuart's involved, I want to be involved in it because I respect him and his knowledge and his willingness to just help people out there. And I think this is a fantastic product. We're selling so much of it at the store, so listen closely and you will learn, my folks. I personally think it's probably the fastest selling item I've ever had in the store, and it's become, one of our top sellers, and people are just raving about it, and people who are finding out about it are coming in and just telling us tremendous stories. So I have to ask you, you were a prime mover in Nordic Naturals, which is, I consider one of the top lines of fish oils in the country, in the world. And you were a spokesman traveling around the world, just illuminating people about the wonders of fish oils. And I have to ask, what drew your interest to this?
Well, if you remember, Jim, when we first met, I was working with Dr. Cass Ingram, The Cure is in the Cupboard, North American Urban
Sure,
Science.
he's been on the show, right? Mm-hmm.
So my first love was plant medicine, herbal medicine. And spending 20 years in the industry on the show floor and watching these trends and being very close to consumers, when I saw the hemp evolution, when I saw the end of prohibition of agricultural hemp and cannabis, and sort of this awakening of interest in this misunderstood plant. Mm-hmm. And then I watched the Sanjay Gupta CNN specials. Have you seen those yet?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so it was watching that really gave me the courage. And I was sitting there with my wife. We were considering moving to California and taking this position with Canavest. And we were watching those documentaries. And for anyone that hasn't seen them, they're on YouTube. Just look up Weed, Sanjay Gupta, their documentaries. We were weeping and crying, seeing these kids that had seizures, that nothing else could help them but cannabis. And my wife looked at me and she said, we have to take this risk. I know it's daring, but we have to run towards helping other people. So I was lucky that I have a wife that is supportive of doing something daring, and I'm so happy I've done it now.
Yeah, and I'm sure she wanted you out of the house more than ever. And look at her.
I'm actually around more.
Oh, you're around more, okay.
Over the last year. But I thought to start with this, to contextualize it, because I've really been looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah.
There's this quote from Niccolo Machiavelli, and it's kind of sometimes a misunderstood quote, but he said, there's nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to handle, than to initiate a new order of things. For the reformer has enemies in all those who profit by the old order.
Yeah, that's so true.
And when on National Geographic, Nat Geo, over the summer, and Time Magazine in June, both had their front page dedicated to cannabis and the new science of cannabis, this is a sea change in our culture, and my responsibility, our responsibility at Canavest, is to mainstream fight. And
we could be talking in a few minutes with Stuart Tomk, and he's a VP at Canavest, and we're going to be talking about something called cannabinoids, and we're going to talk about cannabis and the oil from it. It's called CBD oil, and I've heard about it for a while. I had a lot of requests from customers coming into the store, and I said, you know what, my old buddy Stuart went to work for this company a little while back, and if Stuart's involved, I want to be involved in it because I respect him and his knowledge and his willingness to just help people out there. And I think this is a fantastic product. We're selling so much of it at the store, so listen closely and you will learn, my folks. I personally think it's probably the fastest selling item I've ever had in the store, and it's become, one of our top sellers. And people are just raving about it, and people who are finding out about it are coming in and just telling us tremendous stories. So I have to ask you, you were a prime mover in Nordic Naturals, which is, I consider one of the top lines of fish oils in the country, in the world. And you were a spokesman traveling around the world just illuminating people about the wonders of fish oils. And I have to ask, what drew your interest to this?
Well, if you remember, Jim, when we first met, I was working with Dr. Cass Ingram, The Cure is in the Cupboard, North American Urban
Sure,
Science.
he's been on the show, right? Mm-hmm.
So my first love was plant medicine, herbal medicine. And spending 20 years in the industry on the show floor and watching these trends and being very close to consumers, when I saw the hemp evolution, when I saw the end of prohibition of agricultural hemp and cannabis, and sort of this awakening of interest in this misunderstood plant.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched the Sanjay Gupta CNN specials. Have you seen those yet?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so it was watching that really gave me the courage. And I was sitting there with my wife. We were considering moving to California and taking this position with Cannavest. And we were watching those documentaries. And for anyone that hasn't seen them, they're on YouTube. Just look up Weed, Sanjay Gupta, their documentaries. We were weeping and crying, seeing these kids that had seizures that nothing else could help them but cannabis. And my wife looked at me and she said, we have to take this risk. I know it's daring, but we have to run towards helping other people. So I was lucky that I have a wife that is supportive of doing something daring, and I'm so happy I've done it now.
Yeah, and I'm sure she wanted you out of the house more than ever. And looking around.
I'm actually around more.
Oh, you're around more, okay.
Over the last year. But I thought to start with this, to contextualize it, because I've really been looking forward to talking to you.
Yeah.
There's this quote from Niccolo Machiavelli, and it's kind of sometimes a misunderstood quote, but he said, there's nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to handle, than to initiate a new order of things. For the reformer has enemies in all those who profit by the old order.
Yeah, that's so true.
And when on National Geographic, Nat Geo, over the summer, and Time Magazine in June, both had their front page dedicated to cannabis and the new science of cannabis. This is a sea change in our culture, and my responsibility, our responsibility at Cannavest, is to mainstream phytocannabinoids. I don't want to talk about weed or ganja or strains. That's ridiculous. We're not here to talk about recreational marijuana. We're here to talk about the healing benefit of phytocannabinoids and a new term, Jim, that we're all going to have to get comfortable with, called the endocannabinoid ohm. Now think about this. You've done this for how long? 25, 30 years?
More, unfortunately.
No, that's great. Do you remember the first shelf-stable probiotic that you bought? Was it Chaedophilus?
It's one of them, sure.
Okay, so I was working in a health food store when I was 18. I'm 46, so I've been doing it for a long time, too.
Mm-hmm.
And now everyone's talking about the gut microbiome, aren't we?
Right.
How long did that take? 30 years?
Yeah, the whole brain-gut connection and everything.
Right. So the endocannabinoid system was only discovered in the 90s. And it's the master control system. And it keeps peace among every other system in your body for balance and homeostasis. We now know that these plants, the hemp plant, contains compounds you don't find anywhere else in nature in significant amounts that balances the system that keeps balance in the rest of your body. It is the greatest breakthrough in nutrition and nutritional medicine I have ever seen.
Well, let's for the audience, let's make that distinction there, because the term medical marijuana everybody knows about, and people have been using that for a while now and getting great results. And how can we differentiate the two?
Well, the unfortunate challenge here, and this is why education is so critical, the name Cannabis sativa, the genus and species of the plant, refers both to the agricultural hemp that was grown in Kentucky during the Second World War to make rope, to fight fascism, to win the war, right? Only a dope smokes rope, ditchweed, right? Is the same exact genus species as medical cannabis. If you've noticed, I don't use the word marijuana. Did you pick up on that?
I got you.
Because it's a derogatory term that was created as propaganda years ago. The difference is hemp grows 15 feet tall, looks more like bamboo, where medical cannabis grows in these little clones. They look like Christmas trees. So the unfortunate challenge is it's the same genus species with different DNA and different properties. Hemp, the products we make here at Cannavest, don't get people high. They keep healthy people healthy. And you've probably already seen in a way that is unique and different to any herbal extract you've used.
Definitely. And so this plant, and now we don't grow it here, right? There's some type of situation going on with the government, and
well, we grow it for research purposes.
Right.
And Cannavest is leading that crusade in Kentucky. The very first seeds in the ground after the Farm Bill was signed in 2014 were Cannavest seeds. So we have test crops at Murray State, Kentucky University. So the future supply will be here in America. But did you know this, Jim? We're the largest importers of hemp products in the world. And like many things in America, we used to be one of the top producers, and now we're only an importer.
Yeah.
And at Cannavest, we're going to change that.
Yeah. I know you should get Trump involved in this, I'll tell you. Well, but so your stuff is coming over from seas right now. You got a big acreage in another country, and you're making this stuff in Holland.
Thousands of acres.
Thousands of acres making this plant. Again, folks, it does not have any of the psychotropic components to it, any negligible amount. But I was reading the history of it, dating back thousands of years, but that's nice, but some of the medical research, or at least the proponents of it, only going back about 100 years. I found that fascinating, the pharmacopoeia and things.
Yeah, it was interesting. The first man to introduce it from the east to the west, a physician we should look up, W.B. O'Shaughnessy. It's a nice Irish name. And he helped come up with a cure for cholera, and he was knighted, and he helped discover how the telegraph. He was a fascinating guy, and he introduced it from the east to the west. The Queen of England actually used hemp extracts for menstrual cramps. It was in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia. Park Davis and Company made cannabis extracts. Eli Lilly, Merck, had a cannabis extract at the turn of the last century. It was promoted as an analgesic, sedative, anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic, and as an anticonvulsant. So it is something that has dated back thousands of years, but to your point, it really only started to show up in the medical literature in a serious way starting in the 60s. The research of a man by the name of Raphael Mechoulam that has a new documentary out. You can watch it on YouTube, called The Scientist. His name again is Raphael Mechoulam, The Scientist, the story of Raphael Mechoulam and the endocannabinoid system. So that's part of the education curve here, Jim. People have been talking about cannabis in terms of strains. This strain is good for that condition. Now check this out. Do you remember years ago when people said cod liver oil for a cold and flu, fish oil for arthritis?
Right.
It was oversimplified.
Right.
Remember Udo Erasmus?
Yep.
He said, you need this ratio of fatty acid. Again, oversimplified. The cannabis world, the hemp world, is making that same transition from folklore to big-time science. In fact, today, there is a giant pharmaceutical company growing cannabis, and they've made approved drugs that are available in Canada and the UK that are just coming here to America that are phytocannabinoid natural drugs for a broad array of conditions. So science and folklore are interceding and intersecting the same way it happened with fish oil.
Amazing. And I want people to understand, because I wasn't, I took biology and everything and anatomy. I wasn't aware this endocannabinoid system, or ECS they call it, is in our body. and it has receptor sites, it seems, all over the body for different avenues, right?
It does, and it's very complex and nuanced, and it makes the gut microbiome conversation, which is really mind-bending, look almost elementary in comparison. So for this particular show, let's not go as deep as you know we will in future shows.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that science has linked the endocannabinoid system with complex processes from anxiety to immunity. And this research bonanza is revealing more and more about the endocannabinoid system master control and its shining star, CBD, pronounced cannabidiol. That is what I believe is the medical part, the major medical part of medical cannabis that can give you the benefit, here's the best part, that is not psychotoxic and has almost no side effects and is safe and effective. So if we can disrupt the cannabis world and give people the benefit of medical cannabis, but coming from hemp without side effects, something that you can use every day that is safe and is effective, now we really have an incredible ingredient.
So hemp, like you said, has been around in our industry for a long time. We sell hemp seeds at the store. We sell hemp protein. We sell hemp oil at the store. How can we differentiate between what is already on the shelves and what Cannavest can supply?
Well, there is, again, a learning curve here. When you take hemp seeds as a source of protein or essential fatty acids, there's no trace amounts of phytocannabinoids. And if you take hemp seed oil, same thing. You just have these very, very trace amounts of phytocannabinoids. When you grow a hemp plant, and they grow 15 feet tall, and you take down the seed, the stalk, the stem, everything, and then you CO2 extract that biomass, you then take that raw plant extract, and that's loaded with these phytocannabinoids. So they are radically different. Hemp seeds and hemp seed oil aren't going to give you the benefit of CBD because they don't contain any CBD.
People also have come in the store and they want, and I got to be blunt about it. They because of their jobs, and some of them work for the government, and they get tested. I remember the old Seinfeld episode with the poppy seeds, on the muffin, and that can throw a test off. Should people be concerned about this at all?
Well, if you have a job that you absolutely cannot fail a drug test. We had a woman in the Pacific Northwest. Her husband was becoming a helicopter pilot for the military in Saudi Arabia, and they were doing an exhaustive background check on his wife in addition to him, and blood tests and everything. Well, of course you shouldn't take anything that could potentially trigger any test. So no poppy seeds, to your point, no cold medication. You've got to be careful. Now, in our tinctures, in the plus CBD oil, peppermint spray, and the unflavored and the vanilla, in the 1 and 2 ounce, if you use it as recommended, no one has tested positive. However, be careful. This is a brand new category. This is a very powerful plant. And if you have to pass a drug test for your job, my professional advice, our advice, is to avoid even hemp seeds and hemp seed oil, because even those could give you a false positive.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So it's we're gonna go in just a few minutes. Right after we come back from a break, we're gonna go into some of the products that Cannavest makes. Is there a lot of ongoing research? I mean, is your company, what I've been reading is your company is probably the number one company out there as far as the research goes, and also getting everything from seed to shelf, so to speak.
Yes, we are vertically integrated. So from the DNA testing of the seed until it makes its way to a store shelf, we are in control of the entire process. And in terms of the science around cannabinoids, Jim, I just came back from the International Cannabinoid Research Society Symposium it was the 25th annual. I had no idea.
Right.
That they had been meeting for 25 years.
Right.
And the drug development, the science around this is awe-inspiring. So when we come back, I also want to talk about the patent that the United States of America holds on cannabinoids for the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases. That's an eye-opener.
Well, have you been associated with any clinics or MDs that might be incorporating this into their regime there?
Oh, yes. We have over 100 medical doctors and naturopaths and osteopathic physicians using the product. I just had a cannabis panel at the American Association of Naturopathic Physicians. We had Dr. Maroon, who you may remember.
Oh, yes.
He gave a huge talk at A4M in Las Vegas last year.
The Pittsburgh Steelers coach, doctor, I think, for a while, yeah.
3,000 people. There was more interest in CBD, Jim, than Craig Vettner, who discovered a little old thing called the human genome.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing that that's something. Well, it's not amazing to me. Like you said, you're so enraptured with that. The herbal field that I always feel there's a plant on Earth that can help with any kind of condition if you search enough and do the research on that.
Now, if you have hemp plants that can give you those benefits without the stigma or the side effect of THC, like we're not getting people high.
Right.
Now we've opened up the market and the healing potential to millions and millions of people. And let's be fair, that doesn't mean we won't find some other benefits for those different phytocannabinoids.
Right.
But I want to stop talking about medical marijuana and talk about phytocannabinoid science.
Stuart, your company, let's talk about that. Some of those patents that are going on now. What's going on with that?
So back in 2003, the United States of America, as represented by the Department of Health and Human Services, took out a patent. It's number 6,630,507B1, but who has that memorized? The inventors are so impressive. One of the inventors of this patent is Julius Axelrod, who actually is a former Nobel laureate, won the Nobel Prize in the physiology or medicine for his work in the discovery of neurotransmission. So these are no lightweights. So I want to read this to help anybody that thinks on any level that there may not be true medical benefit to this plant. This is from our government. The cannabinoids are found to have limiting neurological damage following ischemic insults, such as stroke and trauma, or in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases, such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and HIV dementia. Non-psychoactive cannabinoids, such as CBD, cannabidiol, are particularly advantageous to use because they avoid the toxicity that is encountered with psychoactive cannabinoids, meaning you get the benefit without the side effect of THC. Let's think about this, Jim. The treatment of neurodegenerative diseases with a plant such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and HIV dementia. Now, the paradox here is we are told out of one side of the government's mouth there is no medical benefit to hemp, while simultaneously the Department of Health and Human Services holds the patent on the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases with CBD.
Oh, isn't that that's amazing, Uncle Sam?
Now, can you believe with both of our backgrounds, why I had to run towards this opportunity? Because when you look at the biological diversity of what CBD does, it is anxiolytic, antipsychotic, anti-epileptic, neuroprotective, vasorelaxant, antispasmodic, anti-ischemic, anti-proliferative, antibacterial, anti-diabetic, analgesic. It's a bone stimulant, an anti-inflammatory, and immunosuppressive.
That's it?
Yeah, I can't point to one plant. This is not an adaptogen.
Right.
I mean, this isn't ashwagandha. I mean, that's a cool plant. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But that's not what this is. This may be the most powerful tool, herbally, I have ever found to help healthy people stay healthy. What are you hearing from people that are using the Plus CBD.
People won't believe me if I said it.
No, but I mean, they believe us. Because
I'm telling you, for pain and for severe health conditions, which I won't go into online there, but it's just been a godsend to so many people that have come in the store. And I know we carry the whole line and varying degrees of potencies and things. And I guess people want to know, can this be used on a daily basis? Can it be like as a preventative, or is it just used for more serious conditions?
No, that's the thing. You may need higher concentrations for some of those health challenges that you should also always be talking to your primary care physician about. However, when you're looking at, say, nervous system health, mood, anxiety, restorative sleep, and circadian rhythm optimization, Jim, how many people are coming into the store that are buying theanine and GABA and the melatonin and lemon balm and rescue remedy? How many people are you seeing that are stressed beyond comprehension?
Oh, it's epidemic, sure.
And so CBD is something you have to try, and I've tried everything else. The low-hanging fruit for nervous system health, and then metabolic health. When you were talking about sleeping in the nude, okay, you can increase your metabolic efficiency, caloric utilization, and partitioning with CBD, and if you sleep all night, you're going to increase more thermogenesis, more beige, more brown adipose tissue.
Right.
So you will lose gut visceral adipose tissue as a result of being healthy. And then stress resilience, heart rate variability, cytokine, hormonal functional outcomes. This should be in everyone's regime. Recovery and adaptation, supporting immune health, and then digestive problems. People that are taking probiotics all the time, as they should, and digestive enzymes.
Right.
If you still aren't regular, you need to be using Plus CBD oil.
Fantastic. Let's go over some of the products here. I guess our most popular one, and I guess it's the one that people are more apt to try for the first time, are your sprays, and it does come in unflavored, a vanilla, and a peppermint. And the cool thing about the peppermint, you try the peppermint, it's like taking one of those like a Listerine, one of those strips or something, for like a breath freshener. So I mean, you got a double benefit right there. And this is a 1 milligram serving, and they also make a 3 milligram serving in this little spray. I really shouldn't call it a spray. It's more of a pump that puts out a few drops. And how do you apply it? What's the procedure?
Yeah, you just spray it right under the mouth, right under the tongue. You don't necessarily need to, but most people do because of the sublingual increased absorption.
Right.
But you just spray it right in the mouth as need be during the day, when you're dealing with anxiety, when you're dealing with stress. And the small milligram amount is a great way to start, because those receptor sites that your body has for these cannabinoids, they are ubiquitous, as you said. They're everywhere, all over the body. And what we're learning is this, Jim. In a pathological state, when we are really stressed and out of balance, those receptor sites are more active. So you take a little bit of CBD, and it influences this endocannabinoid system in a way that allows your body's natural cannabinoids to be more effective and to last longer in your own system.
Right.
So a few sprays under the tongue, anxiety, stress during the day, you can take between 2 to 10 sprays, gives you between 1 to 5 milligrams of CBD, and if you use the extra strength, 3 to 15 milligrams of CBD would be 2 to 10 sprays. And you can use that every day. That's not a problem.
Right. And is it more efficacious to do it a few times a day than all at once? Is that, or it doesn't really matter there?
Well, we're still learning that part, and that's one thing where I want to be very sensitive. This is an ingredient that is reflecting how fast and interconnected we are as a society. What I mean by that is this has gone viral as the basic science is just coming out of the shadows as prohibition is ending. Meaning, we don't have the randomized control trials yet that we will have, so we still have a lot to learn. Here's what I've seen anecdotally. For people that couldn't sleep, and you've known me for a long time, I'm a bit of a AAA personality high wire act.
No.
I noticed that since I never turn off and I can't slow down and I can't turn my brain off, that I was starting to have some health challenges. I mean, let's face it, if you don't sleep properly, you're going to